Welcome to RV Advisors All Things RV podcast. I am your host, Kathy Conrad. I've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for 6 years, and I love helping new RVers realize their RV dreams. This podcast is about RV education, resources, adventures, and the amazing people who love RVing. It's also about discovering the freedom RVers experience, the connection with nature we are all so grateful for, and how RVing enriches our lives. On this podcast, you can expect us to talk about all things RV, including the good stuff, the challenging stuff, and everything in between. So join us weekly for solo episodes, interviews with industry leaders, and other RVers. And welcome back to the podcast. And if you are new to All Things RV podcast, thank you so much for joining us. Today, I have a guest that I'm really excited to have on here. Her name is Eva Mitic of Go Power. She is the dynamic lead of the marketing department team at Go Power, which is a top brand in the Dometic mobile power solutions family. With a lifelong passion for the outdoors, Eva is dedicated to making mobile off-grid power accessible and easy to understand. Her commitment to innovation and sustainability shines through in her work, and frequently she shares her expertise with listeners, readers, and audiences across North America. So Eva is here today to educate us on all things alternative power. And for those of us who enjoy camping remotely, alternative power is a must-have. So welcome, Eva, to All Things RV Podcasts. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Like you said, I've been a huge proponent of being outdoors and touching grass since I was a little girl. And one of the biggest passions of my life has been technology. So being a part of the Go Power team, looking into sustainable energy and really being able to marry the two, outdoors and technology, has been a huge feather in my cap, so to speak. I'm really excited about being able to bring this technology to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you. I just have a list of topics I wanted to go through, and I'll let you go on as long as I know this. We could dive really deep as well, but maybe we can start with, the super basics of, what's the difference between an inverter and a converter?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're looking at a mobile power system, the converter is actually a battery charger. So when you plug your RV into a wall outlet to charge your battery, that converter takes the power from the outlet and then converts it into DC power to charge your battery in the RV. An inverter does the exact opposite. It takes the power from your battery and then inverts it to power that like you would use in your house. So you could use your electronics like your coffee maker or your microwave.
And so the other thing that is an important part of having an RV is the batteries, your house batteries. And there's the lead acid, there's AGM batteries, and there's the lithium batteries. Tell me, what's the difference in those? And also, what are the advantages and disadvantages to each of those types of batteries that we use?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really the biggest component of any off-grid power system is the battery. So if you think about your RV's power system as like a gas station, the battery bank is actually your gas tank in your car. So the more battery power you have, the more gas you have available to you, the longer you can go off-grid, the more power you have. The three types of batteries that you just mentioned are all different chemistries that offer different benefits and different features. Lead acid battery technology has been around since the late 1800s, so it's a pretty old school kind of way. It's usually the cheapest, the highest in terms of maintenance. You got to get the distilled water out there and you got to make sure that everything's good to go. It only really has half of the available rated capacity in the battery as well. So if you have a 100 amp hour battery, you're really only taking it down 50%. Otherwise, you're going to damage that battery. A logical upgrade from those is the AGM batteries, the absorbed glass mat batteries, and they are completely sealed. So you don't have to fiddle with any distilled water. You can actually bring them inside if you want. You can put them underneath your dinette or underneath your bed if you need to. Again, still fairly inexpensive, and they're definitely a good upgrade for anybody who wants to, get away from fiddling with the water, all that stuff there. And the newcomer, the game changer on the block is the lithium, like you mentioned. And they're really a different animal from the other two entirely. There is so much more advancement in terms of the technology that goes into lithium batteries. They are about 60% lighter than the other two, so you could have far more battery power for far less weight. They charge about 50% faster, and they last about most companies warranty their lithium batteries for 10 years. So they have a much longer lifespan. And the biggest advantage of lithium batteries is that you can take them almost all the way down to zero. You don't have to worry about, floating around that 50% mark. You can bring them right down and bring them right back up. So the longevity and the ease of use on those guys is just, again, it's a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as far as temperature, for those of us who camp in 0 and below climates, I know a lot of people, when they put lithium in, they put them in under their bed or under their dinette. And I know you need to keep a fan, right, running in there to keep them cool. Are they also sensitive to colder temperatures? Is that why you need to bring them inside?
You don't necessarily have to bring lithium batteries inside.
Mhm.
I would recommend it because they are a high ticket item and some people do target them for theft. They do perform better in warmer climates. They start to reduce their output after, I think it's something like 45 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you're, in Arizona in the summer, then you might see a little bit of decreased efficiency there. In terms of cold, they perform fine up to about -20 degrees, and then they don't accept a charge anymore. So the battery will simply shut itself down and not accept a charge anymore just to keep itself safe. Lithium
Mhm.
batteries, most of them have what's called a battery management system in it, which is a little computer that basically tells it, "Oh no, I'm too cold. I shouldn't have this charge coming in." So you can still use your battery. You just can't charge it anymore. What I would recommend for any listeners or yourself who likes to go camping in those colder temperatures, I would recommend looking for a battery with an internal DC heater. So it's basically a little heating pad inside the battery that encases the cells so it keeps it warm enough to accept a charge at any temperature.
Something I've been super curious about. How do you calculate how many watts of solar do you need on your roof and how many batteries you need, to keep your 12-volt system running fine, but also if you want to be able to run anything like your air conditioner or your outlets or appliances. And
Yeah, that is like easily the most common question that we get. And I like to stick with a kind of a simpler rule that'll get you kind of in the area that you need to be. For every 200 watts of solar on your roof that you have or that you need, I would recommend no less than 100 usable amp hours of battery power. So that's very simple for DC stuff. I would probably add some more battery and some more solar for that, for if you wanted to start bringing in your coffee maker, your microwave. You'd probably need between 400 and 600 watts of solar on the roof, at least 3 to 600 amp hours of battery. If you have a 12-volt fridge, a residential fridge, or if you want to start running your air conditioning, you would probably want no less than 1,000 watts of solar on the roof and between 400 and 800 amp hours of lithium battery power to back that up. If you look at the RVers and on a grander scope, you'll find that there's three main power user profiles out there. You've got people like me who just really go out 4 days a week, 10, 12 times a year. So I really only need that 200-watt solar panel and the 100 amp hours of lithium battery because I've got some lights, I've got, my powered cooler to keep my beers cold. I have to keep the fan on my dog to make sure that she's not overheating, and that's really all I need. Then you get the medium power draw people, and those are probably more families of four. People that have to worry about their kids opening and closing their fridge a bunch of times throughout the day. They've got their switches that need to be powered up, and they also need to make sure that they're able to microwave the popcorn at the end of the night for a movie that they're going to watch with their kids. Those are the medium power draw, 4 to 600 watts with the 300 to 600 amp hours of lithium battery in there. And then again, air conditioning, the major heating and cooling elements, those are the larger power draws. And those are the ones that I said for at least 1,000 watts of solar and a significant battery bank.
yeah. What kind of questions would you have people ask themselves to help guide them to make the best decisions? Of course, it's nice to know about the profiles so people can probably figure out which profile that better suits them. Any other questions that
Yeah, I
is
actually
good
have
to
a
ask yourself?
few. There's a few that people should kind of consider when they're looking at mobile power systems. Where do you like to travel? Do you like to go again, like I said, Arizona in the middle of July? That's going to give you a bigger, a bigger requirement for your power draws than somebody who would say be in the forest in Seattle in April.
Mhm.
What do you like to do when you go camping? Do you have that compressor for your paddle boards that you need to have, available power all the time to be able to inflate it? Going back to the family of four, do you have, a baby that you have to have, warm milk bottles with? Do you really truly need that wine cooler everywhere you go? That's going to add another component to your power requirements too. And then who do you take with you? Again, looking at how many people are going to be using that power as well. All three of those questions will kind of give you a basis for your type of user profile, your power profile, and then you can use that as your basis for what you're sizing your system to do.
Any of these topics that you want to dive a little deeper on that you think would be a benefit for the people that are learning about solar?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the common things that we see is a lot of people thinking that solar actually runs the item in the RV. And that's a very common misconception. So the solar panels are actually just battery chargers whenever it's light out. So they basically just take the sun, do their magic, and then start pumping power into the batteries. In order to be able to run your microwave, your coffee maker, those types of things that I mentioned before, you really need to have a power inverter in that system as well. Again, taking the battery power from DC, direct current, to AC, which is the power that you use at home, to be able to plug in those items into your outlets. And that's one of the most common things that I think people misunderstand when they start looking at power systems.
It's the battery that's carrying the power.
Yep,
It's the
exactly.
solar panels that are that are charging it.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah. And
yep.
so
And
there
then
must
the
be a balance between the two, right? If you're going to have a lot of battery power, you're going to need more solar power, right, to charge it more quickly.
Well, it
That
depends on
accurate?
it depends on your expectation. Actually, another common question that I should have mentioned before, how long do you like to travel for? Somebody who's out off the grid for 4 days will not need as much battery power as somebody who's full timing. So if you're looking to not ever have to plug in again, you're going to need more batteries than you might need for solar. You might want to have that reserve capacity. You might not want to have to worry about plugging it ever again, in which case you might go a little bit heavier on the battery, on that solar battery ratio, than you would on the solar side. If you are a lighter power user and you just want to be able to make it to Sunday, you leave on Friday, you get it to Sunday, and then you're plugging in as soon as you get home, a much smaller system is required. And you only might need one solar panel and like one lead acid battery just to maintain the battery over the weekend. So one of the hardest questions that we consistently get is, well, what solar do I need? And the answer will always be, it depends. There's no real one size fits all. You can find a one size fits most kind of rule, but there's not really, a go-to sort of matrix of exactly what every person's going to need because every RV and every RVer is so different.
Mhm. And I always think of weight, your payload capacity or your weight capacity, and the weight of the
Absolutely.
batteries. And like, how much does a lithium battery weigh?
A 100 amp hour lithium battery is probably between 25 and 30 pounds, depending on the brand. But if you consider that as a lead acid battery, 80 pounds in a lead acid battery versus 30 pounds of, double the available power for a
Yeah.
lithium, it's a pretty big trade-off.
Mhm. And then what about for AGM batteries?
About the same as lead acid. Yeah, they're pretty much
Yeah,
on par. Yeah,
they're heavy. Yeah, that's what
yeah,
we
they are
have.
heavy.
And if it's mounted at the front of your trailer on your tongue, or if it's even in your bedroom, right? Because most of the bedrooms in a tow behind are at the front,
Hmm.
that's adding to your tongue weight. It's something we always have to think about because that's our limiting factor is payload capacity actually of our truck. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
When you start adding solar panels and then all of the wiring, like the cabling's not light either. So
yeah,
the power systems are definitely getting lighter and more efficient, but they definitely have their, they start tipping the scales when you start getting into the larger systems. If you wanted to run that air conditioner in Arizona in July, you're probably going to have, a couple thousand pounds worth of copper at some point in your
yeah.
RV.
So that's
Yeah,
really something that people need to consider. I mean, a
yeah,
lot of people don't think about it to start with, right?
yeah.
And then if you start adding that and you end up overweight, not knowing that you should have been paying attention to the weight of all this stuff, especially for a tow behind, you know,
Yeah.
with
No,
wheels
I
can weigh
agree.
so much.
And that's one of the beautiful things about mobile power systems as well, though, is that they are expandable. So you don't have to like go full bore right at the beginning. You can kind of start with a smaller system, figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you.
Mhm.
Um, add portable solar panels to the mix to kind of jump up your solar if you need to. You know, there's lots of different options out there for people to make it their own. And yes, there is a bit of a steep learning curve, but it's not really as complicated as people might make it out to be. It's
Mhm.
just there is a lot of information out there from a lot of different sources. And again, you really just have to figure out what works for you while kind of keeping that ratio in mind.
In terms of the weekend camper sort of thing, I know that we have one solar panel and we have 200 amp hour AGM batteries, which we've camped in the forest with not complete sunlight and gotten through a weekend just fine. And then I have a Jackery, which is great if you don't want to put a drain, you know.
Yep.
And I can run my blow dryer, I could run the Instapot or the electric skillet, any of those things with the Jackery, which gives me some flexibility because I don't have a big, powerful system. It's sort of, I would say, would you say that's kind of the lesser amount of alternative power to have one solar panel and a couple of AGM batteries? I don't think we could go, I don't know that we could go a week, especially if we didn't have sun, right?
Yeah.
Just running
Yeah.
the 12-volt system.
Yeah, so that's an entry level. It's a perfect starter system, really. One
Yeah.
solar panel and two 100 amp hours of available battery. You've got the perfect
Yeah.
ratio, and that's great. The Jackery, the the portable solar generators, the battery power guys, they've got a built-in power inverter. So, like you said, you can run
Mhm.
and charge your laptops or anything that you would just
Yeah.
plug in to use for a short time is great. And that's a really scalable kind of way to start as well. So your Jackery is a decent investment while you're able to use it wherever you need it. And then you've got your 12-volt system in your RV. Again, perfect golden ratio. Yeah, over a weekend, that single solar panel is doing exactly what it should be doing, keeping your lights running, your SC fan, your propane alarm, water
Mhm.
pump, all those things. If you've got
Yeah.
some slides, they'll be doing those too, which is exactly what that's meant to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's worked out. It's worked out pretty well, but we haven't done any like big long trips without any hookups for any period of time. But it's really been helpful and manageable, you know. And then what about in terms of safety? Because, there was a point in time when lithium batteries first came out, as far as you couldn't fly with a tablet or something that had a lithium battery. I'm sure that it's improved over time. Is there anything you can speak to around safety for having alternative
Absolutely.
power?
Yeah, for sure. So the lithium technology that you were talking about in your cell phones, like mine right here, that's a different type of chemistry than you'd see in the RV deep cycle batteries. So the one you'll see in your phone, your tablets, or lithium ion batteries, they still have the same sort of chemistries, better safety features than they did back in the day. The ones that you would see in your RV are lithium iron phosphate, which is a much more stable chemistry, far less susceptible to the issues that the airplanes were seeing with the explosions and those types of things. Not without danger, but definitely a lot more safe than the other ones. There is something to be said about looking for a certified manufacturer as well for your batteries, keeping in mind that there are regional safety standards, things that are deemed as safe in North America might not be deemed as safe in China, or things like those are manufactured. So keep in mind when you're looking at those $200, $100 lithium batteries on Amazon, they might not be built to the same quality as something that was engineered or designed here in North America. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
That's a really great point. That's a really important point. The safety, safety should come first, really.
Yes, definitely, especially when you've got your whole family in an RV. It's not something that
Yes.
you really want to mess with, right?
No, because they go up fast. You
Yeah.
see the videos of them. It's like, oh my gosh, it's pretty scary. Anything else you can add for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there's so many different topics on mobile power that more people would be interested in solar, some would be interested in batteries, other people would be interested in inverter or in the inverter part, and some people like me would probably want to take a 16-hour course on all of the above.
Yeah.
And just to do, a shameless plug here, but gopowersolar.com has, we've got sizing tools available for anybody who's looking to figure out what they need to go off grid for how long. GoPowerSolar.com also has an inverter sizing calculator, tons of information on, winterizing your RV, how to figure out whether your RV is lithium compatible, all those types of things. One of the things that I have tried to do over my career, the last 8 years here at GoPower, is really try to take some of the mysticism out of mobile power systems. And this is why I love having conversations like this, because it really reaffirms that, people are getting educated on them, and, the shroud is starting to come off a little bit, and a lot more people are thinking about sustainability and, environmentally conscious alternatives to generators and gas.
Well, I appreciate your desire to educate. I mean, that's why I do what I do. Because people who don't know have a lot of knowledge in a particular area, I mean, you may not even know what questions to ask, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Sure.
one of the things that we have encountered a lot, and myself personally as well, is, well, I don't even know where to start. No problem. There's tons of resources available to you, whether it's through me, through us, whatever. There's loads of resources available online for anybody who's willing to learn.
Hmm. That's great. I appreciate you sharing that. And I'll put all the information down in the show notes for how people can reach out to Go Power and utilize those tools.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, I so appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Yeah,
That
I think that's pretty much everything. If anybody has any specific questions, feel free to reach out to myself or my team, and we'll be happy to at least direct you into the area that you might need to get started on your solar journey in.
and also, what about um so a lot of RV manufacturers are putting some solar on their units. Do you think it's better to have it done, like get a system from the manufacturer and have that installed, or to do it aftermarket, which I think is more what your niche is the aftermarket upgrade?
We've got both, actually.
Do
So
you?
yeah, a lot of the RV manufacturers are pre-wired. Probably 1 in 3 RVs that are built right now are pre-wired for Go Power Solar product, and then another percentage on top of that already have Go Power Solar already installed.
Hmm.
Um, Another common misconception, just to go on aside there, is that most RVs do not come with power inverters. That's something that you will have to add as an aftermarket component.
Ah, okay.
Um, but there's really not a whole ton of difference between the two. I've seen people who have inherited their grandma's Shasta and retrofitted it with a new power system in a
Mhm.
weekend in their garage. I've also seen people buy, $1 million coaches with the full power system installed. So it's really dependent on the person. I would definitely try to look for, if you're in the market for a new RV, look for something that is at least solar prepped, because it makes the installation so much easier. The wires are already run. You don't have to worry about fishing tape through the walls and like getting the wires to where you need them to go. You've already got them good. There's a port on the roof where you can just plug them in as soon as you bolt down your panels. You're charging your battery. Um, yeah, it's definitely a lot easier if you have a unit that's already pre-wired for solar. It adds a couple of hours if you don't have one that's pre-wired for solar. Again, older models looking for retrofit. But yeah, highly recommend, if you're looking for a new one, get one that's wired.
That's really great information to have. So, well, gosh, Eva, I so appreciate you coming on. This has been really interesting, educational, and valuable.
Thank you so much
Valuable.
for having me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been fun.
Okay. Well, listen, maybe we'll have you on again at another point if you feel like you like to dive a little deeper, because I know we just touched the surface today. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I am happy to do deep dives on solar, on batteries and inverters, all three.
uh,
Definitely
mhm.
interested.
For my Spotify listeners, if you're interested in a little deeper dive into solar, batteries, or inverters, or all three, please respond to the poll down below. If you're listening on another platform, I would love to hear from you as well on whether or not you're interested in a deeper dive. If so, please send me an email at Kathy with a C at rvadvisors.net. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in today to RV Advisors All Things RV Podcast. Please join us again next week for more RV education, resources, adventures, and interesting people. Until then, wishing you amazing adventures, safe travels, and I hope to see you on the road.